John Edwards III was born into a civil rights family. His father was very active in the 1960s civil rights movement, and at a young age, John met several leaders and marched in Birmingham with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Reverend Ralph Abernathy and Reverend C.T. Vivian. His father's commitment to serving those in the community had a lasting impact on him.
He was always involved in doing things in the community. You know, on Christmas, Thanksgiving, he was going around with boxes, giving them out to poor families in the community. He's always worked with poor families, even through his church and in his personal life. He was always giving. He told me one time when I was a boy, I asked him, why did he do all this? He said, some people give till it hurts. There's a saying, they give till it hurts. He said, I give till it feels good. And both he and my mother were involved in helping less fortunate people.
Edwards served in the Army during the Vietnam War. There he received the Bronze Star, the Army Commendation Medal, and a Purple Heart for wounds received in action.
Went to Vietnam on July the 4th, 1969. And I stayed in combat as for 9 months, most of that time as a combat squad leader. I had a squad of 5 and 6, including myself. Never lost a man in combat, and I'm proud of that. I was wounded in my 9th month, the anniversary of the second anniversary of the Tet Offensive, which was, I don't know if you know about the Tet Offensive, it was a big deal as far as being surprised by the enemy. I was wounded by a mortar round, but not really bad as most of the shrapnel in my arm.
Following his discharge from the Army, Edwards became the executive editor, owner, and founder of the Chattanooga News Chronicle, the city's prominent African-American newspaper, focused on the needs and news of Chattanooga's Black community.
I've been in the newspaper business, I guess, for almost over 40 years. I started working for a African-American newspaper called the North Star back in the early 80s. And I enjoyed it so much, and I really learned from it. Unfortunately, it didn't last but a few years. I realized how important it was to the Black community. Some of the problems that African Americans deal with sometimes fall below the scope of the major newspapers. So I thought that with Chattanooga being 1/3 African American, I thought an African American newspaper would be important to the community. Mostly people, the standard is that if there's a 10% community, then a paper can be successful.
The Chronicle celebrates 33 years of publication this year. Edwards prides himself in producing a positive newspaper that inspires and informs readers, amplifying the voices and stories of his community. His father began the Mary Walker Foundation after their family home was firebombed in 1969. Edwards continues the work today as the foundation instills the importance of literacy to become successful and to grow as good citizens.
And he thought that he would use Mary Walker's for motivating, young people to learn how to read and write, and adults as well. And he started a mission. He collected everything that after she died, he collected everything that he could that belonged to her, all the information about her, and he wrote a book called Ex-Slave Extra, the saga of a centenarian. And it's a book that's been republished. We published a new book, a new children's version of the book recently. So we've helped hundreds and I said thousands of children through our program, and our program still goes on. We have about 50 students each year in the program who learn how to read and write and other skills, other life skills that are important to their growth.
John continues to talk to students about what it was like growing up in a civil rights family, his service in Vietnam, and lessons learned from his family being targeted for speaking up and supporting rights for all Americans. As a steadfast community leader, providing opportunity and hope where it's needed, we honor John Edwards III with the Service to Community Award.